I'm trucking on, and I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line, another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on, I'm trucking on.
Howdy, friends, and welcome to Truckin' On. I'm your host, Ward Richmond. I really appreciate you tuning in today, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Randy Book.
Hey,
welcome to Truckin' On.
Oh, I love it. Great to be here, man.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
I love your place. You've given me a little tour. I'm inspired by all the goodies and little treats that you have around the house for the kids and the adults. It's very, very cool.
I love it. It's a little mecca for me.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable here, and I always like to come home. So
no place like home.
That's true. And thank you for leaving your home.
No problem.
Detroit Rock City.
Absolutely.
Come to Dallas, Texas. Welcome. We're in East Dallas right now. That's what part of town I live in.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. So thanks for being here. We've worked together kind of indirectly through Patrick Jett, your
Correct.
business partner, for many years.
Many years.
10
Probably,
years.
yeah, maybe a little longer.
I met him in 2013,
Okay.
I remember. And
So it would be 10 years.
And then you and I have talked before about real estate and teams and whatnot, mainly business stuff, until we were recently in Scottsdale.
Correct.
And then we started talking about all kinds of other things that we're both into, that I had really no idea that you were into all of these. We were talking, I was like, what did you do last week? You said, what did you do last week, Ward? And I was playing it down because I went to a spirituality retreat and I'm at a real estate conference. I'm just like, I went to a little retreat in Santa Barbara. Oh, I went to a silence retreat last week. It's like, no shit. Okay. But anyway, then we just started going. And so we're like we've been getting into all of this new age, wonderful stuff in recent years. And I love talking to you about it. And then said, you've got to be on the podcast. And you said, I'll fly to Dallas. And I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago or something.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Now you're here. So
yeah.
That's amazing.
It's how energy works. You know, when you want to do something, you figure it out, right? So
that's right.
It's pretty cool.
So it's all happening.
It is.
I like to start every podcast with the question of what happened in your life ages 12 to 22 and how did what events occurred that had an impact on you?
Sure. So I would say a few things happened in my life from 12 to 22. First of all, my parents got divorced. So that was pretty dramatic, But
what age?
12. So it was right at 12 years old. And, it wasn't really that big of a deal that they got divorced, I didn't think, until later on in life when you figure out there's a separation. What does this look like? I never want to get married because I saw my mother go through a lot of, bad stuff, going through a divorce and just the commitment of life, so that kind of threw me off. What is life all about? My parents are getting divorced. What does it look like? And it was like, not so good. So
that's a lot for a 12-year-old
to
take on.
Absolutely.
I am divorced.
I know that.
I researched divorce heavily before getting divorced, and to see if it's going to happen, which I think my ex-wife and I both knew this was happening, but it's like, when's the right time to do it? Conversations started happening, and the more I looked into it, I felt like for me and for our family, sooner's better than later, and that's what we did. And I had, we have to rip that Band-Aid off when you're in that situation.
Sure.
At least you don't have to, but I did. And anyway, my kids were 2 and 5, and so it was still very tough on them. And I'll be interested to see their perspective on it as they get older. But sure. It takes a lot of work to get divorced and try and. Thankfully, Gina and I are really cool now, but that takes effort,
Sure. But life takes effort. You know,
everything does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. I mean, my father, I would see him once a year. So, I mean, I think you see your children, if I'm not mistaken, a couple times a week. So, I would say there's a little bit of difference there.
Big time.
You know, my
different time.
Yeah, totally different time. And it was more self-centered, you know, and when you're a parent, when you're self-centered about yourself, you know, not so good. And when it's about the rest of the world and things that you're doing to make things better, I think it makes it a lot more acceptable and easier to go.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, what year it was when your parents got divorced, but I guess, when was that?
That would have been in the 60s.
60s.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's when divorce probably just, I don't know. Did people even get divorced in the 50s? They were pioneers of divorce.
Not many. Yeah. My dad had gotten married 3 times and divorced 3 times. So
was that his, what
number 2? We were number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Wow.
But there's lessons to be learned from everything. And, you know, I'm a person that wakes up in the morning being very grateful and knowing that no matter what the day throws at me, it's a learning, you know, and I make everything as much as I can real, but at the same time, you know, we're here for a very short period of time. Make the best of what we have.
Yeah. So did your mom work full time?
She did. She worked at Detroit College of Law in Detroit, and she had to get a job, and, you know, she never had worked before during her marriage, and, you know, that was hard on her, I'm sure. But she created her own destiny, and it all worked out very, very well.
Only child?
No, I have one other brother, and a stepbrother lives in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay. And then what was school like?
School was like I didn't like it. That's what it was like. You know, school was, I just didn't like it. It was just, I wasn't very comfortable at school. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. I made the best of it. I got through school, but it was not something that I focused on or really was very, very good at.
Did you do activities at school?
I did. Sure.
Like what?
Wood carvings.
Yeah.
Baseball, things of that nature. Those things I enjoyed. But the actual mental slowing down and thinking wasn't so much what was in my head at that time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was really into sports and theater and whatnot, but the schoolwork was, I couldn't stay focused on it.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I mean, you know, and I don't mind admitting it. I mean, you know, once again, you know what you have, and then you work with the truth, and whatever the truth is will set you free, right?
That's right. That's right.
It might take you a long time to get to the truth, but eventually you get there.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that if the school taught all the things that I'm into now, all the self-help and the spirituality stuff, maybe I would have been more into it, but maybe I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And who knows? But so anyway, you got through high school. Were you like popular in high school?
Oh, very popular. Yeah. I mean, I
could see
have
that.
lots of people over and, did a lot of really, really crazy things. Probably one of the interesting things that I did at the age of 15 is I hopped on a bus and went to Traverse City, Michigan and picked cherries for the summer and lived in a tent. That was quite a learning experience.
15?
At 15,
Wow.
yeah. I told my mom, hey, I'm going to take a bus. I'm going to go up north. I'm going to be in Traverse City for a couple of months picking cherries. And myself, you know, I lived in a tent literally for about 2.5 months, and it was a great learning experience. A lot of immigrants from Mexico would come up and pick cherries, and I would be with them, and it was a very humbling kind of experience. So, I mean, that was a big time. But I was always been a believer in myself that I could do whatever I wanted to do, you know, and now, you know, I really look at where I'm at. I've got to find something much bigger than myself, you know, because I've already done what I want to do. Now it's about helping other people, you know, and doing different things. Are you kind of there? Or?
I feel that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I really feel that way. I mean, I've done everything that I could ever possibly dream of and more. And now it's more time to really figure out what is the plan of giving, because it allows a whole nother spectrum of life, you know, because for a long time it was all about me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did this. I went to a Joe Dispenza conference a couple weeks ago, and I think something related to that conference had me asking me the questions about what my bucket list items were of like big things I want to do, like climb Mount Everest or this or that. And I'm like, I don't have those things anymore. I used to have those, and there was a big stack of them, and I'd say I did most of them. Maybe all of them. Because when I'm looking at the bucket list, I'm like, okay, I already did all my bucket list. And I mean, now, of course, my bucket list is be present with my children.
Right.
Find new innovative ways, I think, to do work. And then my spirituality practice, I want to up that. But these aren't like bucket list items.
Right.
They're just like
They're
ways
journeys.
of being.
It's a journey.
Giving back.
Right.
Like, how does that look? I haven't really focused on that until recently. I've written checks left and right and done things like that.
Sure.
And volunteered here and there, but I haven't really been super conscious about it. Like when I wanted to do an Ironman, I trained and did the Ironman, and I'm like, go do that. And right now I just, and it was kind of cool when I saw that question. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to climb Mount Everest. Like that's just not for me.
Wow.
And that's cool. But, all of that crazy shit, I already did all my crazy things.
And the reality, think about where your energy is. Before you'd have these list of things, you'd look at the list and mark one off at a time. Now, it's kind of like I've done all my list, and now it's really time to live and get onto that next pasture for me.
Now I want to practice not having a voice in my head that thinks about the future all the time and creating dismal situations.
Sounds like you've done that, or partially. Witness of consciousness is what I call that. Right?
Witness of consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's my new bucket list is
It's a great one.
To become better at witnessing my consciousness and like catch it more quickly. And I know it's always there. That mind, our minds are like computers, and they're just like thinking and processing and trying to, and I say these dismal situations, but it's looking for your worst case scenario to keep you out of it, to keep you alive.
Right.
Because we've evolved from this fight or flight where we're getting chased by saber-toothed tigers or whatnot. And today, you don't need all that same fight and flight to that degree that we did back then. But training your mind otherwise, that is a big part of my life now. And
I love it.
And these things that you've been doing and we've been talking about, like the silent retreat is what I want to go to next. I haven't been to one, but we're going to have to talk about that.
Let's do it together, man. I'd love to. And honestly, you don't talk, but go ahead with whatever question you want to go, because I know this means a lot to you, the silence piece.
It does, and but tell me more about the youth. So your parents got divorced. You saw your dad once a year, and you were popular. Did you pick cherries? You went to college?
No, I didn't go to college. I got right out of high school and bought my first HUD home.
Okay.
And bought that for $5,500 and sold it for $18,500. Made a nice profit and said, well, this seems pretty simple. Why don't I just keep on going out and buying, some more property? So I did. And at one time I had over 100+ homes and rental properties.
Wow.
So I had a lot. And, some things were working in life, some things weren't. If you have a bad one or two partners, they can take you down pretty quickly. And it was a learning lesson once again. There's lots of learning lessons out there. And, I had a lot of different companies and a lot of different things. I think for a long time, up until maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I was very much a shiny penny, looking for the new shiny penny. Whatever was new and exciting, I would follow that penny, And I've realized that's been a problem and have slowed down with the shiny penny syndrome. And I really think about things before I do it or act towards it.
Yeah. So when you're 22, that was the HUD home era.
Correct.
You were in that.
Yep.
And then my next question is 22 to present. What happened then? So what were the shiny pennies you followed after the HUD homes?
Yeah.
You got partners.
A lot of learning.
Yeah.
A lot of learning. So, where do you even start? I would say from 22 until now, a lot of acceleration. A lot of understanding what it is to be and just to be rather than about me. And I would say for the first, 10 years of that period you're talking about, it was all about me. How am I going to figure this out? What am I going to do?
Was it a lot about work and money?
Oh, yeah. It was all about work and money. I came from some money, and so for me, money has been more important than it should have ever been, in my opinion. I've just, focused on money, making money.
Mm-hmm. And so you did that for how long?
I did that for with different companies and different things until I had cancer, which would have been, let's see here, what year would that have been? 1996. I had cancer, thyroid cancer. And at that point, I sold whatever assets I did have and sold everything off and just kind of restarted, not knowing I had thyroid cancer. And if you want a cancer, that would be the one you'd want. And I had thyroid cancer, and I thought, I'm selling everything, and if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I'm just going to travel the world for a little bit and say goodbye to everybody. And, cancer hasn't come back since, so I'm grateful, so it's a good thing.
That's great. And then, so that's 96. Then what happened after that?
I really wanted to get focused on one thing, to do one thing really good rather than all the shiny pennies. And I looked at commercial real estate. And I interviewed with 5 or 6 different companies, and at that time made a choice to go with a smaller boutique company in Detroit by the name of Fardman Stein. And I really enjoyed it. The business was really, really fun. My first year I made 0, and I literally made 100 cold calls a day, as you can probably know what that feels like. I think you probably had a day or two like that. So I did that for almost a year, made 0 amount of money. The next year I made like $35,000. And then upward and onward, and it's just a matter of focus. I think one of my given talents, or one that I've created, is relationships. I'm really good with relationships. I care about people. I care about doing the right thing. And, I love people, and I like solving problems. And, being in the commercial real estate business, you're solving problems left and right, because these companies are coming to you with problems, and you better have an answer.
Did you have a mentor to teach you to make 100 cold calls and what to say? Were you partners with said mentor, or how did that work?
Not at the beginning. I didn't have anybody. They just said, here's a book, start making your cold calls, and you will have great success.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have a mentor at that time, that really told me really anything.
Yeah.
I was working 14-hour days and just doing what I thought I had to do.
Yeah. And then you proved successful and it kept going. Then when did you become a mentor?
Over, I'd say the last 7-8 years, I've mentored a fair amount of younger people.
When did you and Patrick get together?
That's been 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So he used to work for my wife in a mortgage company, and my wife retired. And Patrick came to me one day and said on a Friday, hey, if I come and get my real estate license, can I come and join real estate? I said, sure, no problem at all. I figured I'd see him in a month, but he showed up on Tuesday and said, hey, I'm here. I said, okay, I guess we'll have to find some things for you to do. So that was on a Tuesday he showed up, and we've had a great relationship. I think any good relationship is made up of different people with different skill sets, and he has a lot of different skill sets that I don't have.
Yeah, he's very good looking. He's better looking than most people at Colliers, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely.
He's a face jockey.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, I like that term. Yeah, I'll have to remind him of that. But I agree with that.
Dresses to the nines. Yeah. I asked him if he would be my personal shopper when we were in Scottsdale. Like, can we go shopping? Just like, I want to get a cardigan like you.
I don't
know if I can pull off a cardigan like he does, though.
He does a good job at it.
So, by the way, you have a wife.
I do have a wife.
When did you meet her?
So I met her. We dated for 9 years prior to marrying.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know if I want to get married.
I get back into my dad's situation, fear of commitment. So we dated for that period of time, and then we've been married for 20 years. We've not had any children ourselves, but she has children, and we have grandchildren because of that. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. That's great.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Marlene.
Great. And then, Marlene basically brought you Patrick.
Absolutely.
Business partner of 14 years. That's a beautiful thing.
It's a very nice thing.
I have Cole Hooper's been my partner now for over 9 years, so we're going on 10 years, and it's just amazing to think about. He started working with me right out of college, and then I have Zach, who's 7 years. James is going on 5, but my teammates are just like become like family. You know?
Well, you spend more time with them than your real family. I mean, that's the reality, and I treat all of our team members, equally, because it's important. Without our team, I wouldn't be able to be here today.
Hey, it wouldn't be that fulfilling for me. I've done the lone wolf approach.
Right, not so fun.
And I've done the work for people that at least it made me feel in my mind, like I wasn't part of a team, but I was working for someone. And I try to be really mindful about that too. And just these teammates, like I want to all be growing together, and everybody has a path to be equals, right?
Sure.
Eventually. And or tomorrow if you want to be. Like
Right.
It depends.
Your commitment.
If you want it, then you can do it.
Right.
There's
limits.
No limits. Yeah. And I guess for the most part I had that, but in my head back in those days, I think I just needed to be in charge maybe. So I'm trying to work on that a little more now.
Well, I think we're working on something together right now, and I haven't seen you on one call, so you're doing something right.
That's right. It's a Monday. I'm podcasting. So I let my teammates know that this is also marketing for our team.
Totally. I completely agree.
The best kind.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah. Well, and you really, you and I've talked about it. It's a lot of fun to be able to do it, and you get to learn a lot about people and about things that you wouldn't normally allow into your brain because we're thinking from a different, spot.
Yeah. So you were really an office tenant rep broker?
I was, yeah. So
And then Patrick, you brought in to focus more on the industrial side?
Correct.
Yeah.
But with the economy the way that it's been for the last probably 6 or 7 years, I've slowly been kind of going from an office tenant rep broker to more of an advisory role.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably 80% of our work right now is industrial and 20% of it would be office. I'm still, have some fairly large deals that I'm working on out there, which is good. But it's changed a lot. And if I'm going to make the money that I'm used to making, I've got to switch a little bit and do a bit more industrial.
I feel like Detroit's changed a lot.
Yeah, it has. Detroit's a fabulous place.
Yeah. Tell me more about like growing up there and what that's like. And there's so much industry there with the auto industry being basically HQ'd there with Ford and GM and all of it, right?
Right, yeah. It's, growing up there, I don't think there's a better state in the country, personally, Michigan. I love it. I'll always have a home there. It's gritty. The people are good. They're communicative. And there's a lot of really good giving people for a lot of different things that I'm involved with as far as charities go. I am a little bit concerned with the EV world, what that's going to look like and where are all those parts going to get made or where's everything going to make. We're in the midst of a UAW strike as we talk. I think we're in our third week, maybe our fourth week. And I'm concerned about what that's going to do. But Detroit is a really beautiful, community. I mean, I really, really enjoy it. I love the Four Seasons. I do like to sneak away for a week or two and go somewhere warm in the winter. But for the reality, there's no better place for my head to be. Yeah.
Good music? Are you a music guy?
I'm not a really big music guy. No, I mean, I do like music, but there's nothing that really sets me in that direction big time. I mean, I've gone to a lot of great concerts during my life, from Ella Fitzgerald to Peter Frampton to Santana. I've done a lot of cool things, but music it's on the medium list. It's certainly not on the heavy list.
What art is your art of choice? Is there one?
Formula One racing. I love Formula One racing. I've been following that since I've been 19 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So I love the sport.
Yeah.
And I'm just fascinated by the cars and the technology and the money that goes into it. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very cool.
Do you watch any other sports?
No. I mean, I'm a fair-weathered person when it comes to sports. Been watching, the Lions have been doing very well this year. So I've been watching that. That's been exciting.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention really to sports like I used to.
Yeah.
But if the Cowboys are winning, that's fun.
Yeah.
I think they've been a little shaky. It seems like up and down, like maybe they will.
Well, Detroit's never won like they're winning right now in a long time, like 30 years. So just to see that,
that's exciting.
And the excitement, in our community and, all the redevelopment that's happening in downtown Detroit, we haven't seen what we're seeing right now, in my lifetime in 64 years. I mean, it's incredible, the money and the transition of downtown Detroit to where it is today. It's phenomenal.
Since you're in the heart of all of that with the auto workers, do you have thoughts on that, like how that looks? And I've heard this guy speak. I can't remember his name, but who's in charge of the union,
right?
And I've seen his videos. I kind of like, I'm not a big fan of labor unions because I'm a Texas guy, and I mean, it's just not something I'm accustomed to. So it seems to make a lot of things a pain in the ass for my customers.
Right.
And that's really my only take on it. But I like this guy because I think he's just like, he seems real. And
I think he is.
He might be
real.
unrealistic about his requests at times, but I like his vibe in general because he seems like a guy that I would love to have him on the podcast. I would love to just like sit down with him and hear his thoughts. But I don't know, and I agree. Like, sure, everyone should have all of this, but then, like, do these companies make money? And that's always this function of like, yes, rents. It would be nice if rents were lower, except for the fact that all the landlords would get foreclosed on because they have to pay. These landlords have the same margins as they always had, for the most part. I mean, I know that there's some times when they don't have it, but I think for the most part it's pretty good. And so these auto companies, they can't have these. I mean, I don't know what the margins are that they're working with, so I don't understand any of that. Do you have any take?
I really don't. I mean, we need to have people get back to work. Yeah. That I do know. Yeah. Is 40% too much? It certainly seems like it is from the automotive companies. I think Ford lately had offered 20 or 22%. But I'm not in any position to say yes or no to any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a mathematical problem, like most things in life.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know who's going to be smarter or who's going to win, but if this lasted another 2 months, I'm afraid that we're really going to be in some deep trouble in my market for sure in Detroit.
Well, yeah, and I mean the whole car market in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people want to go buy a car, it's going to be a complete pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Or it probably already is with what's going on right now. So, yeah, it's a weird time with cars and them moving to EV and all of that. And I don't know. My thoughts on a labor union, I would never want to be in a labor union because I'm Ward Richmond. And I like that. That guy should go start his own company.
I agree.
He's a good guy. Go start your own company and hire people to go work for your company because what a great leader he is. But all of this time on these unions and protesting and for me, being the freedom-seeking individual, I like the autonomy to go do what Ward Richmond needs to do to go make money. Not to keep talking about myself in the third person, by the way. But you know what I mean?
Witness of consciousness.
And, yeah, exactly. Always. But, yeah, and I've heard people speak also, there's just going to be AI moving into these jobs.
Right.
I frankly don't think anyone should have to go work in the factory and make parts. That sounds like, I guess people have to, and maybe some, maybe that has to happen. But I just feel like we're moving into a time with AI and technology where hopefully it empowers people to get to go do other things besides work for, paychecks that they can't afford to live off of, doing jobs that are hard to do.
Right.
And I do think there's endless opportunity out there that for people, if you want it. And I'd like to think that way. So anyway, we're getting too deep on that, and I'm not a political guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is politics. It's
I
just
don't know.
like,
I think it's
Detroit.
life. I think it's just Detroit life. Yeah. I don't think that it's really political. I mean, it just needs to be resolved.
Yeah. I've worked at a call center and at a fast food restaurant and a moving company, and
you ever sold vacuum cleaners? I've done that.
No.
Kirby vacuum cleaners.
But you know what?
You got to try that for a week.
All those jobs sucked, and I stopped doing it, and went on and found something else to do.
Yeah.
And that's all I would say is if you're unhappy with your job, go find another job.
Yeah.
And
I agree. Climb the mountain.
Yeah. So moving on, what would you tell your younger self at this point in time? If you
get rid of your ego.
What age?
As young as you possibly can, because it'll destroy you.
If you told me that when I was young, I'd be like, "What? It's my ego. I don't understand what you're talking about."
What age do you really figure out there's an ego? I mean, it takes a lot of awakening, to really kind of figure it out because, the reality is you really don't even, what is an ego? What do you mean your ego? I mean,
explain to me, pretending that I am your 12-year-old self, what an ego is.
An ego is it's something that your impulse to think and do without thinking it through. That's what I would suggest. It's just taking you into a different zone. And, most of my life, my ego has run most of my life for sure. And I've looked at it and I've realized how many mistakes that I've made. And, sometimes it's just best to sit back and surrender, rather than being in the midst of it, just allowing it to be.
Yeah.
If there's something you see that, you think about it, we're just two people on this little earth, 1.3 million Earths sitting in the sun. And it's like, what do you think? I'm going to make a difference in something? The days of controlling are pretty limited. I'm not going to tell you I still don't do it, but, I think less is more. And, the idea of being able to just let it be. Once upon a time, I thought I could change the world. Today, I'm just working on me, and I'll be grateful.
Yeah.
If I can just get me figured out, that would be unbelievable.
That will change the world.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
For me, it will.
Yeah, that's right. And for those you come into contact with, and I believe in that.
I believe in that big time, too. I think, when you're around people that are like-minded,
yeah,
there's a lot of similarities. And I think really magical things happen to us as human beings, too.
Yeah.
When you let go of who you aren't and you be who you are, I think things just kind of automatically. Each day is an experiment, and each day is just a real blessing of some opportunities that are out there. And they could come from a guy or a girl smiling at you at the car wash to wherever that is. You just never know who anybody is.
That's so true. Yeah, just be kind to people.
Smile and be happy.
When did you realize that you had an ego?
I don't know specifically, but the ego has been following me for a long time.
Oh, yeah, brother.
I would say if I were guessing, the ego's been following me, and I've been aware of it probably in the last 10 years, approximately.
Was there a book you read or a thing that occurred that made it click, like, oh my gosh?
The reality is I think you can read a lot about ego, but until you really understand it, it's just the ego. Like you were saying as a young man, if I said, hey, you're 15, hey, check your ego at the door, buddy, before you come in here. Some things are just not meant to be until they're to be, and I think a lot of life, you've got to be trained to be where you're at, and it's not like, being any kind of age. When it happens, it's going to happen when the right time, at the right reason for you and for me, So I'd say the last 10 years, I've realized it, but it's a continuation. It's not anything that you just stop.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of it.
Yeah. I think that I read The Power of Now.
Yeah, it's a great book.
And he does Eckhart Tolle, and he does an exercise in it. It's not really an exercise, but it's like, think about a thought right now and what thought you were thinking. Mm-hmm. And then you do. He goes, you can't think of anything, can you? It's like, you're right. If you try to think about a thought, then there's no thought. And like, whoa. And that's kind of the first glimpse I got. Mm-hmm. Then I read The Untethered Soul.
Right. One of my favorites.
You just turned me on to his podcast.
Right.
Michael Singer.
Yeah.
And that book really spells it out.
Yeah.
Which is all of the things that your brain thinks about when you're waking up in the morning and going through your day. And then you start, that's when I started really like.
When was that, just out of curiosity?
A few years ago.
Okay, good.
Maybe
That's
like
great.
2022.
Mm-hmm.
So no, not a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Someone recommended it to me. I read it and was like mind blown. And that's when I really started to become aware. And then it just becomes, I think once that Band-Aid gets fully ripped off, then I'm kind of like mentoring my ego for probably the rest of my life. Yeah. Like, bro, what are you thinking?
Totally.
What are you doing here?
Yeah,
like,
I completely agree.
Snap out of it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how you can fuel your ego by lack of sleep, poor diet, not exercising, and then it becomes this mountain that can really be crushing at times until you go, oh yeah,
it's just a movie.
It's just a movie. Yeah, that I created this mountain by staying up too late last night and not working out today. And so just get through this day and get a good night's sleep tonight, and tomorrow's going to be better. And sometimes that's all you got.
Do you ever just stop during the day and notice your ego at work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it's nice to be able to acknowledge that you see it at work And you see it with everybody. Everybody has one. So it's not like you have one, I have one. I mean, everybody has one. So I think it's kind of fun just to look at you're in a meeting, just watch the egos go.
I like to laugh at the ego.
Oh, I laugh at the ego all day long. So I can be talking to my wife, and she might say something that I'm not really kind of tuned to, and I'm just going to laugh inside. I find myself laughing a lot more internally,
yes,
which is just letting it go. I'm not making it a deal.
Yeah.
And I think way too much drama gets created by our thoughts and how we talk and how we do things. And I think being able to keep those thoughts away, let them go through you. Don't let them stop inside of you and make it a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. What would you say the greatest obstacle that you've had to overcome?
Wow. Probably cancer would be the biggest one, that I had. So thyroid cancer.
That must have been scary.
It was scary, just the uncertainty of it and death.
Did you find out through feeling sick?
My girlfriend at the time noticed I had a little nodule. She said, "Would you go and get that checked?" I said, "Sure." They said, "Oh, you have thyroid cancer." I said, "Oh boy, I'm gone."
How old were you?
29 years old.
Wow.
So I was young.
Yeah. And then you got all the treatments. Did you just do?
I did nuclear medicine, and that took care of it. And like I said, I haven't had an issue since. So
yeah.
I'm grateful.
So, when did you get on this spirituality path?
When my wife caught me in the closet 10 years ago, approximately, meditating. So it was about 10 or 11 years ago. Literally, because of anxiety, I'm working on trying to figure out my anxiety. What am I going to do? And it's like, what can I do? So I thought, all right, I'm going to start meditating. So I told my wife, we have a fairly large closet. I'm going to go sit in the closet.
How did you approach, I'm going to start meditating?
Yeah.
Where did you learn about the meditating thing?
I think YouTube and just reading things and, reading books on Naval SEALs and some of their techniques that they were using to release some stress. I found that to be particularly interesting, where in one of the books that I read, sit on the bottom of a lake, have a tube that's coming out of your mouth that you're breathing through the lake, and letting, when you breathe, let that expand into the world.
Wow.
And that was pretty powerful. And from there, that was about 11 years ago. And then my wife sent me to a spiritual retreat in California. And I did that. That was 5 days of, no talking. And it was incredible, because...
Where was that?
That was in just north of San Francisco.
Yeah. Remember the name of the place?
Spirit Rock.
Spirit Rock.
Yeah, okay. Spirit Rock, yeah. Jack Cornfield.
So going back, when did you realize you had anxiety?
Oh, I've had anxiety for a long time. I had a panic attack when I was, would have been 29 years old. And I thought I was going to die. And it was like, holy mackerel, what's going on?
Did that have to do with the cancer?
No, nothing to do with the cancer.
That's funny. They both happened at 29.
Yeah.
Did that happen before the cancer?
Yeah, it did.
Huh.
Yeah.
And so you had a panic attack.
Yeah, so I had a panic attack. Not a fun experience.
No. And I feel like I came closest to having one during COVID. And
I don't mean to laugh, but
I'm getting divorced and the COVID's happening and I'm buying 2 houses and no divorce attorneys and what the fuck is going on now? All of the deals come to a standstill. And then I watched some video on Instagram of some poor girl suffocating and started sweating. And then I thankfully I already knew about meditating then. I just went and meditated it away before it.
Did it work?
Yeah. I knew I was on the verge of having a panic attack. Mm-hmm. At least I was aware because I had done enough work up to that point to know it's not a heart attack.
Right.
This is obviously.
Did you go to the hospital?
No.
Yeah, I went to the hospital and they put me on a treadmill and was like, oh yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it through this day.
I already knew that I didn't know I had anxiety until I was 37 and I was looking at quitting drinking and talking to doctors about it. And this doctor said, yes, you have a severe social anxiety disorder and you use alcohol to cope with it. I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Thank you for telling me that. But
so simple.
I didn't know it was anxiety. Anxiety is fake until then. And that's crazy. That was 7 years ago.
Yeah,
this doctor told me and I was like, oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Congratulations.
I have anxiety. I have a reason for drinking all of that alcohol now. And Yeah, but shit, just knowing it. I mean, for you had to have a panic attack, go to the hospital, and but so many people I think must live with anxiety, not knowing they have anxiety.
And actually, anxiety, I believe, is actually a good thing, but you have to understand it. Because if you're fearful of it, you're just going to create more panic.
Yeah.
But if you understand what's happening to your body and why, and slow down a little bit, it's actually, we all have it.
I feel anxiety when I start talking to you about the labor unions of Detroit, and I feel that coming on, and it's just like my body saying, bro, don't talk about the labor unions because you know nothing about it, nor do you.
I don't either.
It's not your thing to talk about.
Well, and, and I got too many other things that are important for me to talk about rather than things that I have no control over, so I let a lot of things just go by me that I have no control over. Do I have an opinion? Yeah, but my opinions are less and less today than they probably ever have been because it doesn't matter.
And I just don't know what the right answer is. I don't think anyone knows that.
No, I think you're right.
And that's just so much that's going on out there. You can look at it and just like it's hard to know.
Right.
And all I know is what I need to do to keep myself sane right now and work on those things.
Right.
And that's a learning experience every day too. Because,
big time.
That's constantly changing.
Do you ever go to a corner and see a homeless person and say, that could be me?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, isn't that a wild thing? I do too. I mean, I really do, because the reality is, we all have roads to take.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to just go, oh, that could have been me. That could have been me. How grateful that I am and you are that that's not where we ended up. But
right.
a lot of sad stories out there.
There are days when I wake up still today, and I mean, that's something I'm working on. But when you have dominoes of deals fall apart simultaneously and you've got a lot of responsibility, on that you put on yourself, and then it's like, what if they keep falling apart? What if all of this keeps happening? And what if I never get another real estate deal done again? Like, my mind will go there, and my mind probably still goes there on January 1st of every year. And I've talked about that a lot on this podcast. Our industry is really unique in that I think there's a very low level of predictability in what your income may be that year, and there's huge swings of highs and nothings, and that can occur.
Absolutely.
And trying to figure that out. I mean, it takes a lot of mental strength to power through the tough times and to focus on the process and the long term and surrender to God and surrender. That's what I do, at least, is once I can get the ego there, like, okay, surrender to the worst possible outcome. And then if you can deal with that, it'll only get better from there, because your mind's going to make up the darkest.
It always does.
Homeless guy on the side of the street
exactly.
Scenario. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I'd like to do less of that. And I think
it's just a matter of time. I think it's just a matter of time. You'll get there.
Yeah, thank you. And conversating about it's a great way to get out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
What is your morning ritual?
My morning ritual, I get up between 4:30 and 5 every morning, 5 days a week. So I'll make that 5 days a week. And then I go for a walk is the first thing I do. I get up, I go for a walk. So I walk for about 30 to 40 minutes. I come back and meditate for about 20 minutes. And then I grab my wife and we have coffee or tea in the morning. Then it's probably for 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on what my day looks like. And then I am getting ready for my day, and I'm out of the house and return somewhere between 6 and 8 o'clock every night.
Do you go to the office each day?
I have been going to the office. We've hired on our team a couple of new individuals, and I just think it's important for me to be there to help and train and trying to help them through things. We have several people that don't go to the office full time. So I'm kind of taking that point, and I actually really like being in the office. I like the energy. I like the people, and you get to learn a lot around people.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree that you can. I don't do that, right. But yeah, I think that's something.
Well, it's not for you right now. Maybe it will be later, and maybe it won't.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't.
It's perfect the way it is.
Love that. So what's your favorite hotel?
Favorite hotel would be the Roost in downtown Detroit. It's a beautiful old hotel.
I've never stayed in Detroit before.
Well, I offer you to come, and I would
been to
be
the
happy
airport,
to pick it up.
but I've never stayed.
Come and stay at the Roost. It's
The
a beautiful,
Roost.
the Roost. It's a newly, it's a new hotel that's owned by Dan Gilbert and Bedrock, and they just reconverted the building into mostly hotels and apartments and a little bit of office space.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I'll have to check it out.
Please do.
What about your favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant, I would say for that, Jamaica at the Boathouse Surf Club. And what that is a place where you go on a boat and you literally pick your fish out. You know, there's like you get your own fish right out of the boat.
That's awesome.
And so
you eat on the boat?
Yeah, you eat on the boat. Yeah.
Where is it in Jamaica?
By the Ritz-Carlton. I don't remember the exact location of it, but it's near the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
I was there with my wife, and we went and had lobster, and it was just unbelievable. It was very romantic, very, very nice setting.
Love Jamaica.
So, yeah, it's fun. It's a great spot to be hanging out.
Zach on my team just got married there.
Oh, did he? Good.
A couple years ago.
Good.
So fun. What's a book that's worth talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of good books. I either read or listen to a book a week, so I'm constantly keeping up with what I think is important. Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. I got to tell you, for me, that is really one of the most impactful books. I'm involved with a book club that I've been doing for about 10 and a half years now with two other individuals, one out of Toronto and one out of New York, both in the commercial real estate business, very successful. And every Thursday from 8:30 until 10, I am on a call with those people, and we are talking about books and different things. We started off with Think and Grow Rich.
That's a great book.
And that's where we started.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable how well you get to know people, But I've been doing that for almost 11 years with these guys.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
That is great.
Yeah.
That you just make the time.
Yeah, we make the time. It's like it's like an important ritual. I think habits are really important to create.
Yeah.
And that's one that I'm just so grateful. And there's been times where we've all yelled at one another and we've had tough days, but that's life. Tough days. It's part of it.
That's right. It's all the way it should be.
I agree.
Let's see. What about a quote?
A quote. I would say my favorite quote is, and I may not say it exactly perfect, but I've said it once before on this, is that, yesterday I wanted to change the world. Today I'm just trying to change me.
I like that.
Just a simple one, but, I think that's where my head's at for right now,
Yeah. Do you have any other retreats on your schedule?
I don't have any other retreats. I did 2 this year at the Art of Living in Boone, North Carolina.
Both of them were there?
Both of those were there. Yeah, correct.
Were they the same retreat or different types?
Different. There could be anywhere from 20 to 80 people in the retreat.
Okay.
And they kind of specialize in meditation and deep diving. So there's lots of different types of it. Literally you don't speak. You have a little name tag on you. If you need a ride somewhere or whatever, you just show the guy, hey, I need to get up to the house to have a meal, or I need to go to my room, or whatever like that. But literally there is no
talking. Do you
talking.
say that, though?
No, you don't say anything.
You don't say anything.
No, you show them your little badge and say, hey, this is where I need to go.
Okay, yeah.
There's no talking.
Yeah.
And you're eating three meals a day.
So I've tried to not talk for just like an afternoon by myself at home. And I talk to myself out loud. Did you experience that?
I didn't experience it at all. I think I talk so much that it was like a relief to shut up for a little bit.
It sounds so wonderful.
And it also, getting back to, conscious of witness, it gives you an opportunity to look at that as well. Because think about it. We're just talking all day long. We're in the real estate business, I spend most of my day on a telephone call. That's my world. And so when you can shut that off and actually start thinking a little bit, not a bad deal.
Yeah. We're not thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that could be another show.
I want to go to a no-thinking retreat.
Yeah, exactly. Keith Cunningham, Keys to the Vault is who you want to talk to on that one.
Oh, yeah. Is that a good one?
Yeah, he's an old coach of mine that I had in Texas.
Does he do the NBA thing, like the overnight or the weekend NBA?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I did that.
I saw him speak at Tony Robbins' conference.
Yeah, exactly. He's good friends with Tony. Yeah, a really good guy. I coached with him for about 3 years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I have the question, what song do you want to share today?
Sure, be happy to. So I'll give you a song. Fly Me to the Moon. I've always wanted to go to the moon. And so Fly Me to the Moon is one of my favorite songs. I listen to all types of different music.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've listened to Ella Fitzgerald live, to, Santana, to Fleetwood Mac. I mean, I've seen a lot of music. But I think Fly Me to the Moon, because one day I'd like to get to the moon.
Love it. What about a charity or a cause?
Yeah, I've got a lot of them. Gilda's Club. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Gilda Radner had passed away of ovarian cancer.
Okay.
So I've been on that board for approximately 28 years. So that is a charity that I'm really grateful for. And, we help thousands of people in Michigan, but it's all over the United States. So that would be one charity. Detroit Conservatory is another one. It allows people to walk on a beautiful waterfront in downtown Detroit. Those are really my two favorites to go to.
Yeah.
I love being able to give. And I guess one last one would be feeding people. I love the opportunity. I've never really not been able to afford a meal, or have a meal. And I just think of how many people don't have the luxury of that and how nice it is to be able to feed a few people. So I have a little outline that I'm working on to get that completed.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Keep me posted on that.
I will, for sure.
So if you had $100 million in a briefcase, what one thing would you invest it in?
Yeah, I would invest it into the two charities I just brought up.
Yeah.
That's where I'd put it right away.
Put it right there.
I mean, why take a risk with it and I'm going to go invest it in something and have it lose or whatever. I would just put that money right to use and watch it, being put to use. So I wouldn't invest it. I would invest it into people.
Yeah. That's great. What's the number one thing on your vision board? Or bucket list?
Yeah, the bucket list. Helping others.
Yeah.
And having some of my wisdom that I've been able to create in the 64 years to be able to share that with other people, to let them hopefully have a little bit better life, and see that there's no limits to life. You can create whatever you want. You just got to be mindful. You got to have, a lot of focus, and you've got to, be determined to do whatever you want to do, whatever that is.
You actually helped me realize when we were talking in Scottsdale that I was keeping my cards a little close to the vest about things that I was up to, and you weren't, and you were just very open about it with me. And that just created a great conversation and got me thinking about other things. So that was very helpful to me. And then it also made me aware of, I need to just be like Randy when I'm talking to people about what I've been doing and just say here's what I've been doing, and just be more open about it. And I still, I have that ego in me. I don't.
No, they won't believe me. They're going to think I'm crazy,
Yeah.
or they're going to, they would have thought that a long time ago. Think about the days when you were drinking.
Man. When I was drinking.
That's just a whole nother world, right? So now, what do you have to lose? It's just you. Being authentic with yourself, I think, is an extremely important key to living a good life. It takes work. It's not so simple. It's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody. But, I think when you're authentic, things show up. If you and I hadn't had that conversation, I wouldn't be here right now. And, I've always thought a lot of you, Ward, just because of some of the circumstances you've run through your life. And I look at it as everything a learning experience, man. You wouldn't be exactly where you are if not everything took place the way it did.
True. And and on those bad days or those dominoes of deals falling apart, I got to tell myself, this is, whenever the deals fall apart, I think of some cool new way to do things, and or something there's some reason for this that that I'm getting put through the ringer. So I got to take advantage of this feeling and what action is that going to create me to take that maybe might have been a little bit of complacency or laziness should everything had just worked out perfectly and I didn't have to think as hard. Well,
I think we do get lazy, and you expect things to happen the way you want them to because you want control, and you do everything you can to have that control. But the reality is that's not life,
That's right.
And how are you going to expect every deal to happen if you don't have a couple that hit off the rail? That's not reality in my opinion. I don't care who you are or what you are. So to me, you got to have a couple off the rail. They feel good? No. You got a team, you're trying to feed everybody, and everybody, I get it. I'm there. So it's like, it's difficult, but at the same time, it's just part of life, And I mean, it's not easy, but it just goes to show, it's kind of that ego in you, which it is for me too. It's like, no, what do you mean, man? I worked my butt off. Why don't I get that deal? No, it's not going to happen this week, Ward, Richmond.
I wish I could remember where I heard this, if it was a book or a movie or a conversation, but it was about this guy going to a casino and he won every bet. And that became hell.
Yeah.
And because if you win every bet, then
there's what's left.
What's left? There's nothing.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
exactly.
You don't know how good it feels to, for the good deals, a good deal to close until you have these moments,
right?
And take a look at things that way, and also just not be so focused on the deals to begin with.
I mean, when you were 15 years old, did you think you'd be as successful as you are today?
I don't know the answer to that, because it just depends on your definition of success.
Right.
So I think I've always had high aspirations of different levels of success, and maybe that's kind of part of my journey right now, is redefining what that means for me. But no, I never would have guessed that I would have been a commercial real estate broker when I was 15 years old. My dad was in commercial real estate, but I never really understood what he did until I was like 25. It wasn't something that I thought of. Well, that's not true. Probably when I was 18, I figured out what he did, but I never wanted to do it till I was 26, 27. And that became a goal. But when I was 15, I think I wanted to play
sports,
college football,
right,
like University of Texas or something.
Right.
And maybe go to the NFL.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe next life.
Yeah, I'm thankful it didn't happen. I'm
yeah,
thankful
exactly.
my shoulder got blown out my junior year right before a combine, and then I wound up playing for 1 year in college, and I'm glad that happened. Even though then I wasn't, but it worked out great.
Yeah, like I said, things happen for a reason. They're just not always there to tell you, and I think your emotions always get the best of you. Why did that happen? Why did I just lost X amount of money or a deal?
Yeah.
I'm working at just surrendering my life, letting it be.
Amen, brother.
All right. Well, great to see you, Ward.
Tell our listeners how they can find you, Randy.
They can find me on LinkedIn at Randall Book at Collier's. That's really my big media. That's all I have, and I'm grateful for it.
Thanks for making the trip to East Dallas, my brother.
I love it, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's great to see you. Thank you for sharing your house with me. It's beautiful. And keep trucking.
Let's get to trucking on.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
All right. Be good.
Peace.
Out.
I need someone to help me find a brand new attitude. I need someone to lend me a little bit of latitude. I wish someone would tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do. Then the voice in my gut kicked me in the butt and said, I'm the only one you need to listen to. Then my soul told me I'm the only one to listen to. And I'm trucking on. And I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line. Another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on. I'm trucking on. I tried to run away like a freight train with no track. I tried to escape like a convict leaving Alcatraz. I prayed every day for a cachet I could never have. My bad decisions catalyzed the best ideas I've ever had. Bad decisions catalyzed the best ideas I've ever had. And I'm trucking on. I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line. Another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on. I'm trucking on. Yeah. blame until I stare into these eyes. I'm gonna tell the truth to you till I break on through to the other side. Living like I'm gonna die is the only time I feel alive. Living like I'm gonna die is the only time I feel alive. And I'm trucking on. I'm trucking on.